Okay, so here we have our baked Funko Pop here, so we're ready to go in and do the primering. Some people spray paint the primer on, and I know for some of my previous pops I have spray painted, and I've used just basic like automotive primer, and it totally works. That's what a lot of people use. I'm just not really comfortable with spray paint at all, so I don't really like spraying primer. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Liquitex primer. It's the gesso that I would normally use on my canvas, so it's going to be mirrored so you can't really tell, but I got black Liquitex primer, and I have a big bottle of white primer. Again, it's mirrored so you can't really tell, but one's Liquitex Professionals and one's Liquitex Basics, but it doesn't really matter. I'm basically just mixing the two together so I can get more of a dark gray kind of primer. And I'm just gonna brush on like a really thin coat here. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. I just want to apply this on before I start painting. I usually go lighter with most of my pops, but for this one I figured it was okay for it to be a little darker because it's gonna be dark. So I did paint him dark, and then I kind of just dry brushed lighter grays and darker blacks over top of that, and I think it's coming out really well. So I'm not too worried about this color of the primer. Sometimes it'll just depend on what you're trying to paint on top of it. If I was working with a lot of like really transparent colors, like certain reds, greens, and yellows, I'd probably want to do something much lighter than this. But for the color palette, this totally works. And I'm using a synthetic brush. I think that's really important when you're painting the baked polymer clay, is to use a synthetic brush so you don't really leave any brush strokes in there. And again, just applying a light coat. It's kind of hard to get in all the little grooves. So turn it this way. The primer dries pretty fast, but I am going to let this dry overnight before I actually go in and apply a top coat of paint. And now I've been doing the same for my canvases too. I'll prime them and let them sit for usually like 12 to 24 hours, even though it's not really necessary. Again, it does dry pretty fast. So again, if you don't have the texture that you want to keep in your pop, I do recommend sanding. I actually do wet sanding. I think I get really great results. If you're going for something smooth, like I know for the Ninja Turtle pops, I wanted their heads, like top of their heads and stuff, I wanted those to be really smooth. So I wet sanded. I did some priming. There's a few spots I need to touch up, so I went in with another it's really light sandpaper, really fine sandpaper, and did it again, and it was just amazingly smooth results. That's the best results I've gotten so far. When I don't require texture is to wet sand the baked polymer. So he's pretty well covered on the back. I just need to be able to get in these little grooves here. And the tail. I'll worry about painting the bottom of the feet later. So again, you have options for your primer. I just prefer to brush it on. I have better control with the brush. I get really good coverage without it being way too much. But some people have better spray painting skills than I do. It's just not really something I've got a talent for. And then once I get this finished, I'm definitely gonna get a clear coat on as soon as possible, because I'm so scared. Like, I just want to make sure I get it done and get it protected. Little goatee here, it actually broke off after baking. I was really upset, but I did super glue it back, and it feels like it's on pretty good. I just want to get a nice protective cover on it, and I think once I get the polyacrylic, I think it'll be good to go. Okay. And this is what I'm using. It's hard to see again because it's mirrored, but it's the Minwax polyacrylic water-based clear gloss. So it's very important that you get water-based. It doesn't have to be polyacrylic. There's other brands out there, but you want to make sure you get water-based. They have ones that look just like this, and they're oil-based, and you don't want those. You want water-based. Like, you can buy the actual, like, clear coat protective stuff made specifically for Super Sculpey clay. But it's really expensive for a tiny bottle, and this was actually about, I think, the same price as the tiny bottle of Super Sculpey protective finish, and this is going to go a long way. I've already done a couple pops with it, and the jar is still almost completely full. So yeah, so we are primed, we are ready to dry, and I'm going to paint the final coat of paint on this tomorrow, and I'll have pics on my Instagram, and probably will be doing some more YouTube videos going more in depth on how I do my Ninja Turtle custom Funko Pops. So if you have any questions, leave them down below. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more, and I will be back with more videos. Thank you, until next time.